In this video, I'll cover what responsive web design is, explain what makes a layout responsive, and give a quick recap of how CSS Flexbox helps to build it. I will then go through a step-by-step coding demo, showing how to create a responsive two-column layout with CSS Flexbox that automatically switches to a one-column layout on mobile. So, let's first talk about what responsive web design means. Responsive web design is a concept for building websites that adapt to different screen sizes. It includes making images, text, and other content fit to different screen sizes. It also includes responsive layouts, which is arranging content so it is laid out efficiently on different screen sizes. We can create responsive layouts using various CSS layout models, but I'll be focusing on CSS Flexbox in this video. So let's recap. What is CSS Flexbox and why is it useful? The Flexible Box Layout module is also known as Flexbox, and it's a way of laying out HTML elements using CSS. It positions elements in either a row or a column, and it's therefore known as one-dimensional. It's important for aligning and spacing elements, as well as building responsive layouts. So now I'm going to provide a coding demonstration of how to create a responsive layout using CSS Flexbox. Before we take a look at the code, here's a quick preview of what the two-column layout looks like in the browser. Here we have two equally sized red boxes, one on the left and one on the right. They take up the full width of the screen and are separated by a small gap. As I make the screen size smaller, you'll see that the layout starts to change at a certain breakpoint. So here, the boxes are now stacked one on top of the other instead of side by side, and the gap is now underneath the first box. This current view that we are seeing would commonly be seen in a mobile view or any kind of small screen size. Whereas the side-by-side two-column layout is great for desktops and larger screens. This is so that content can be spaced out more efficiently on larger screens and adapted in a visually appealing way on mobiles. So now let's take a look at the code. Here I've created two files, index.html and style.css. In this HTML file, we have the boilerplate code, which includes the doc type, the HTML tags, the head tags, and the body tags. Inside the head tags, we have a meta tag, which helps with keeping this web page responsive. I've also linked the style.css file and added a title for the page. In the body tags, I've added an outer div with a class of container and two inner divs, which share the same class name box. Over in the style.css file, I've added two comments, one for mobile and one for desktop. So I've taken a mobile first approach here, which means styling for mobile first and then for other screen sizes later on, such as desktop. So firstly, I removed any default margins or paddings in the body. Then I created the two boxes by adding a background color of red and a padding of 2 rem. I did this by selecting the class name of box that we saw in the index.html file here. So now we have two red boxes. Going back to the CSS file, I then selected the class container which was added to the outer div. And I gave this outer container a property of display and a value of flex. So this container is now a flex container. This means I can now start to make the two red boxes responsive. And I'm doing this firstly by adding the flex property, flex direction, and the value of column for mobile. This means I've been able to change the direction from the default value of row to one column for mobile. We saw this in the preview, where the two boxes were stacked one on top of the other. This is how we've achieved this, by adding flex direction column on the outer container. We've also added a gap of 1 rem, which we also saw in the preview. So this is the mobile styling. So now let's move on to the desktop styling. Here I'm using a media query, which is styling for screen sizes with a minimum width of 750 pixels. This is our breakpoint, meaning when we hit a width of minimum 750 pixels, the layout changes. So the layout alters between the mobile styling and the desktop styling at 750 pixels. So 750 pixels and wider, we have changed the styling for the outer div container to a flex direction of row instead of column. So on wider screens, the boxes are laid out side by side. We also gave the two boxes a property of flex and a value of 1. This means the two boxes take up equal widths of the entire screen. So this is how you can create a 2-column layout for desktops and also shrink the layout automatically for mobiles. So in summary, I have used CSS Flexbox to create a responsive 2-column layout. A responsive layout is a part of the responsive web design approach to making full websites accessible for users of different device and screen sizes.